Our way.
Alistair! Yay!
Welcome to our next segment, Make A Buzz 2020. Delighted to have with us two of our past chairs, volunteers, and basic overall legends of LiveWorkPlay, Cecelia Taylor and Wendy Mitchell. Maybe we just take us back a bit, so we'll start with Wendy, for chronology. So you served probably way too many years as chair.
Yeah.
You can tell us the start and finish of that if you recall it. But I mean, those were some super important years because that's when we were going through all kinds of transition, trying to kind of find our footing in the new sort of person-centered world. But maybe I'll let you share kind of your recollections of those years and what stands out.
Sure. It was a really long time, and being someone who understands the voluntary sector and volunteer roles, I spent many times having chats with you guys about, should I still be chair? Should I still be on the board? Is it time? But we carried on, and I'm glad that we did because I learned so much. So got involved with the organization back in 98, 99, which was really early on. But it was really through the work that I was doing at MBNA. So before I took a community investment role, I was helping to build some partnerships for the bank. And you guys popped up in my rear view mirror, my side view mirror. So we brought you on board and did some really interesting work around employment supports and the early years of employment supports, the early years of galas, the early years of everything. And there was a name change and all of those things happened at the same time. It went from Special Needs Network to LiveWorkPlay to supported housing altogether and trying that out to, oh my gosh, that's not how we should do things. We need to try another direction. But the one thing that was always amazing in the board role was that there was never a fear of being trailblazers. And I use that model and that example in my work a lot because it's that concept of you can be a trailblazer. People will come along because eventually, as we're seeing probably in the last 5 years in particular, where you guys were trailblazers on all these things, everyone else has finally come in line with around some of this stuff and how the developmental sector can work and all that side of things. So it really was an interesting experience in the stuff that I learned from the people I worked with on the board, and the processes that we went through over that time was incredible.
When I joined the board, Wendy was still on board, and it was a phenomenal group of people. And it was clear to me that Wendy had built, not on her own, but was leading a team of independent thinkers who also gelled really, really well. So it was super cool to be invited to participate in some of those discussions. And don't kid yourself, Wendy, when you did decide that it was really time to go, we were all very sad and scared to see you go, right? So, and so how I got involved, well, so I'd met Julie years and years ago when we were both working at YouthNet. I started teaching the developmental services worker program at Algonquin College, and I was teaching documentation and report writing and that kind of thing. And I thought, I want to do this right. So who is in my network who could help me? And you guys were in my network, and you kindly said, well, why don't we meet for lunch? And I was like, hey, that would be awesome. And then I realized at a certain point in the meeting that we weren't really talking about documentation. You were looking for board members. And so I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that at the time, but I think later that's what happened. And so an opportunity at the board was available, and I got an invitation to join. And yeah, it's just a side story. There was someone that I was working with who heard that I was on the board and was like, how did you get invited to be on the board of LiveWorkPlay? And I was like, no.
Because see, you have to understand that recruiting board members was on all of our radars at all times, at any time, always.
It was, it's so hard to do well, right? It's so hard to do well. And so, yeah, that it always be on our minds makes total sense. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's stay with you for a minute because so Wendy was there for a lot of key decisions, name change, early development of mission, shifting to person-centered. But I was kind of going over the memories and what I share in the little bit of time we have on May 7th. And one of the most sort of explosive, joyous gatherings we ever had, and I don't think a lot of organizations can say this, because normally, like voting on your mission statement and stuff, it's just like, put up your hand and let's move on to the croutons. But it was a wonderful evening back in 2011. I wonder if you could just reflect a bit on that process.
What I remember the mission statement being that we voted on in 2011, it was to help the community to welcome people with intellectual disability as valued citizens. And so this idea of focusing not on changing or even supporting members, but helping the community to recognize value and to learn how to welcome. Once we came to it, it was so clear that this was, this is where we want to be. And so if I remember correctly, that was probably the best kind of speech that I'd ever given, because I connected it to my experience at home in Nova Scotia.
It is not for people with intellectual disabilities to change who they are so the world will accept them. They are citizens, and we will help our community welcome and respect them all as such in all respects.
That sense of community was just so strong for me that night, and I remember articulating that sense of history and present and that coming together. So.
And that probably explains why there was such a buzz in the room, because I think people were feeling that, whether or not they were directly excited about the particular words. I think everyone got from you and the others the energy that this is about something a little bit more than a bylaw change.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And so on the fun side of things, because I know you both did things outside of the boardroom with the organization, but do you have any particular wacky or meaningful memories? Like you just chipped in about how Warren likes to greet you. So that's one of those standouts. How about you, Wendy?
What's really interesting is the standout is now almost. So I live in Centertown, and I interact with clients and former clients or members of LiveWorkPlay all the time. I see Chris at Starbucks almost every day. I see other members at various points, some walking from the Y and some all around. And it's always shocking because I'm the person that everybody kind of gets almost uncomfortable with when you're walking around, because I'll say hello to anybody. I'll talk to people in the elevators. And so there's me walking down Bank Street, and then I get surprised because someone's yelling, "Hi, Wendy," from across the street. And so that, for me, coming from another city, living in Ottawa, not really, I built my network in Ottawa, but I'm not from here. I just alone on former members of LiveWorkPlay, I've got a community. The best times were the Friday nights I used to spend going out Friday nights. I mean, I think there was like a 5-year period where almost every Friday night I was out on a bus, which I never took the bus anywhere. As long as it wasn't swimming night, I was good. To beg not to go on swimming nights.
That's beautiful. I know our current volunteer coordinator, Alex, will want me to make sure everyone knows that people are no longer asked to go swimming if they don't like to swim. So it's much more variety, geographic.
But do they have to cook in a really hot kitchen in a really old building?
No.
Oh, okay.
Now a lot of people have great fond memories of those family brunch events, but I certainly prefer the service at St. Anthony's when we're able to do that. So
never make pancakes with Julie. That's all I have to say.
Good to know. I'll try. So Cecelia and Wendy, I just want to thank you so much for joining us with our 25th anniversary celebration, and hey, look forward to future anniversaries and more conversations.
Thank you so
See
much.
ya. Happy to be part of it.
Take
Bye,
care.
Tina.
Bye for now.
Bye.